right, good evening. How's everyone feeling tonight? It's not raining. We try to plan our events strategically, but in San Diego, that's only like 5 times a year that you have to worry about the rain. So we're also recording tonight so that folks who weren't able to be here can join in and learn more about the program. We'll use the mic to make sure everyone is able to hear. So I have the great honor of starting out and bragging about our amazing faculty. So one of the things that we talk a lot about at Parker are the relationships that our students form with our faculty. Our faculty are incredibly talented and passionate about what they teach. They, as I always say, love teenagers. They choose to work with high schoolers, and it is a pleasure for them to work with high schoolers. And so they bring their passion and their energy and their enthusiasm for the subject they're teaching and for students every day to school to be with kids. And every year, at the end of the year, it's actually a graduation requirement, so each senior does an exit interview with, I think I did 17 last year, with our grade level deans, and we have a series of questions that we ask them. And to a student, when we ask, like, what is something that you really appreciated and valued about your experience at Parker that you would like to share, it's almost like I could write my notes for each student before they speak, but that would not be really great interview or practice. But they say my relationships with my teachers, that they have such a great appreciation for that commitment that their teachers make to them and to their learning. And so, like, at the heart of Parker, it is really our faculty. You'll learn more tonight about other aspects of our program, but I think that we start really with the most important element of our school, and it's an honor for me to serve and support them. So we're going to have an opportunity to hear from Ms. Dillmore next, and one of the things that it's good to know about Ms. Dillmore, she's the associate head of upper school. She was just moved into that position this year, but she has spent her tenure teaching math and serving as the 9th grade dean. So she has many years of experience working with students who are transitioning into Parker. Can you raise your hand if your child is not applying for 9th grade? Okay, so it would be a different, we have the same model of coming in, but a different dean. So I just want to, and our current dean of the 9th grade is Ms. Nancy Anderson, but Ms. Dillmore is going to share more about kind of what the program can look like, and then you can look on your sheet if it's not 9th grade and just think about when that starting point might be.
Thank you and welcome. So my name is Carrie Dillmore. I'm the associate head of the upper school. I am in my 17th year here at Parker. I love it very much. I'm in my 23rd year of education. So I started when I was 9. I taught math, and then as mentioned, I was a grade level dean and math teacher at the same time, so I had a chance to have a foot in each side there, which was lovely. And now I'm here in the associate spot, and I cannot wait though to share with you some of the highlights of our 4-year plan process, because I think it's a really beautifully developed program that we have that we created based on the needs that we saw. So we didn't take a canned program and try to fit it here. We created it ourselves. So we have a grade level dean for each grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. We also have 4 college counselors. There are 8 people on our campus who help the students with their academic planning. And that is just wonderful. Every single year in 9th grade, and 10th grade, and 11th grade, students will sit down with someone to project and plan what's going to happen the next year. And so my favorite part, probably because I was 9th grade dean, was to sit down that very first year during the 9th grade year and take a blank sheet, it had the 9th grade classes filled in, which 9th grade starts fairly generic. You can probably appreciate it'll be more of the prerequisite, just basic learning. We're almost all in the same type of classes. And then it starts to bloom and blossom from there. So in 9th grade, we sit down, there's a professional academic counselor that sits down with every single student, and families are welcome. So some families everyone loves to attend, And some families like to have the student take care of it themselves and then report back, you know, kind of that path of maturity. That would be your choice. The family sit or the student sits and with pencils in what might happen for those 4 years. And it's really fun to walk students through what might be of interest. So the college counselors and the grade level deans will ask hopes, dreams, interests, you know, anything that might be on the table, and they pencil in a 4-year plan. So if you'll take a moment, perhaps go to the sample 4-year plan where it says student number 1. In looking at this plan, I would generally state that I see a student who has a true love of the humanities. So we require 4 years of English to graduate, but not necessarily 4 years of that high-level English that's right at the very end of the 11th and 12th grades there. We require 3 years of every other core subject area. However, our college counselors strongly recommend a 4th year of everything, and that has worked out beautifully. Our students go way above and beyond whatever UC requirements, the A through G, if you're familiar with any of those, way above and beyond those. And our students have a wonderful experience taking 4 years, especially 11th and 12th grade. They get a lot of choices of what they're taking, and that prepares them best for college. You can imagine if you took a year off of math and then jumped into some college level math, that might be tricky. So they're best prepared for college that way. They're also, of course, still progressing forward in their education by doing that extra year for those core subject areas. You can see that we offer a wide variety, especially the course list. Maybe don't flip to it just yet, but on that course list, you will be, I think, impressed by what we're offering. We have a wide variety of opportunities for all different subject areas. Things that are typical in high schools and things that may be a little atypical, but we think they're cool. If you continue to look at the bottom, we do have electives that students can take. Those elective areas can also turn into free blocks. So if you have a student who might want some extra processing time, take time to dive deeper, to really study, to enhance notes that may have been taken in class, to work together with a study buddy, there are opportunities during the day to have a free block and just get more homework done during the school day, which is fantastic. You might be able to visit a teacher and get extra help. You might be able to go to our academic resource center and get some extra tutoring or executive ordering, maybe organizing might be a thing you want to work on. So there's a lot of opportunities in our schedule. But as you can see, I think if you can see it starts fairly basic in 9th grade and grows throughout 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to where 9th grade starts as there are no honors, there are no APs, but in subject areas throughout, through 10th, 11th, and 12th, more of those opportunities can arise. If you'll turn it over. As I look at this student, I see a person who seems to be a little more math science heavy. It doesn't mean that they aren't pushing still. Take a glance at the English 12. English in 12th grade, still the highest level that we're offering there. However, this student is doubling up in math, for instance, in senior year, and who wouldn't want to? Just kidding, I'm a math teacher, that was happen. And you can even see takes our highest level of physics, takes one of the highest levels we have is Spanish. So there are a wide variety of opportunities there. And along the way, we have regular, advanced, honors, and AP offerings in all of our subject areas. So that's another opportunity for you to look at the course list and see if you can see your child interested in any of those subjects that we are offering at the time. Throughout, with the electives and the art/elective at the bottom, we offer some fantastic performing arts and visual arts. Our music department, dance, theater, second to none. I may be a little biased, but they're fantastic. And our visual arts, we actually have an art gallery here on campus, and we love to show our students' work off, and it is worthy of being shown off. So not only do we work within textbooks and hit the left side of the brain, we definitely have that right side creative that's fed as well while they're here.
So one of the things, I'm going to introduce my colleague Gwen Geek, who's an extraordinary Spanish teacher and has had a great experience here as a teacher, and she also has some children in school, and her son happens to be in my advisory, so I have that special connection. Our curriculum is designed, you'll hear more about the humanities, that's the focus for tonight, so you'll have a chance to hear from world languages, from English, and from social studies. Our overall curriculum is organized in a way that asks us to think about essential questions and understandings, and then it flows from there with the courses. So you'll have an opportunity tonight to hear about that side of our program. They're of course all integrated and connected, but for the purposes of not overwhelming groups, we divide it into two different presentations. So our focus tonight is on the humanities, and we have a second opportunity in January for the science and math and side of things as well. So I just wanted to make sure I failed to mention that at the beginning. But please, I'm very pleased to introduce Gwen Geek.
Thank you. All right. So I have worked at Parker for 14 years. I started a long time ago, like 24 years ago, took a 10-year break, and I've been back for about 5. And my 2 kids both are in high school now. I have a 9th grader and an 11th grader. And I teach Spanish. And I'll talk a little bit about it. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. So world languages, they are not an elective. So some people have a little bit of a transition to come to when they come to a high school where they're used to middle school and it was an elective. So that could be a little bit of a transition. So it is a core subject. We require 3 years of a foreign language at Parker, and we strongly suggest 4 years because it is like math. You wouldn't want to take a year off of of math. It's the same thing. You would want to take off a year of a foreign language and then go to college and think, oh, I'm just going to pop right back into that language. That's a big time to take off. So we definitely encourage 4 years of a language. The goal is to make students better communicators, and we are aligned with ACTFL, and that is the American Council of Teaching Foreign Languages, because you might not know what that means. And that is an organization that we strongly believe in, and it's all over the United States. And this graph here will give you an idea of how much you will improve for how long you are exposed to the language. Now, and this is a graph that is provided by ACTFL. And so if you were to start, if you've never had any language before, they say if you start in 9th grade that you will be at the novice range by the time you are done 10th grade. By the time you're done 12th grade, you should be at the intermediate range. And if you started maybe in middle school, you've had some language exposure, you would get all the way to intermediate, strong intermediate, middle intermediate range. Now, we have started giving children or students something called the ABLE test, which ACTFL has given us, and it tests in all 4 modes of communication, which is speaking, reading, writing, and listening. And so that's what we teach all the kids how to do this. So we don't just do the writing, we don't just do the speaking, we don't just do the listening or the reading. And so what we've noticed with our program at Parker, giving the students the test in level 2 and in level 3, that our students are already coming out here and all the way to here, and it only tests up to here. So we're really proud of our program right now. So you can be assured that our program is doing really, really well. And then we also have the APs offered in Spanish and in French, and we're just starting a program in Mandarin. So those are the 3 languages we offer, and we have very strong programs in all 3 languages. But that's a pretty strong graph to show you that's where you can expect your student to go, but then the way we teach at our school right now, that your students can really expect to do really well. Now, why would you want to do well in a language? Do you guys have, what's the purpose of a language? Like, who cares? Like, what would you use it for? Yeah,
To communicate with other people around the world.
yeah, around the world. And when would you need it, maybe?
When you go to another country.
When you go to another country? Do you think you might need it for a job? Most possibly, right? I actually went to a conference just, what, about a month ago, and the astronaut that used to work on the Space Center, Terry Rice, he actually thinks he got the job because he spoke French, believe it or not. So actually, language is not just a course. It's actually a skill that you take through your life. And so that's what we're trying to encourage kids at school, to think that it's not just a class you take at school. It's actually a life skill. It's something that you need throughout your life. And so that's what we're trying to encourage. So through that, we are also encouraging students to travel abroad. And so we have, this year, they're going to Colombia on an amazing trip, and they're also going to China. And then we also have many trips where they go on, through class, they go to like the museums, they go to the border to check out the border and some issues that happen at the border. And then we've also started a Students' Merit Society where the students are actually in charge of tutoring other students. So they help other students, and they're volunteering around the community inside Linda Vista. So Spanish on Spanish, Mandarin on Mandarin, and I know this sounds a little bit different, but French even on French. So they go around and they find French communities, and they work within French communities. Because believe it or not, there could be like French retirement, there could be senior citizens that speak French, and they don't have any people to speak with, and so they have people who speak French. And so that's really neat that we've started that this year. And we also have World Language Week. So we're encouraging people to live within our mission at school through the world languages.
Hi, my name is Rachel Krause, and I am the Vasiliadis Endowed Chair of the English Department. And I'm so excited to be here this evening and excited to speak with any of you after this little spiel if there are individual questions about how our department can support your student. So I've been at Parker, this is my 5th year, and it's my 12th year teaching overall. Before I came to Parker, I worked at some amazing public schools, for which I am and will be eternally grateful for the skills and support and relationships I built there. But when I came to Parker, I really understood what it meant to be supported as a teacher who wants to support her students. And so when I get to come to events like this, I'm so excited because it is such an opportunity for me to speak so honestly about what a privilege it is to be a part of this faculty and to get to support students in the way that we do. I get to be a part of the best department, the English department. They're all wonderful. We read books. And my goal today is just to give you an overview of how your student would experience our department. I want to start by where your student might end up. About 85% of our students choose to work toward and then achieve placement in our Honors 12 program. And our Honors 12 program is one of the coolest things that I think Parker does differently from other schools. What we decided several years ago was we looked at the honors options and the most challenging options available to students who cared about the humanities and students who were really just invested in becoming better writers, readers, communicators. And at the time, the options were this. You took AP Language and Rhetoric in the 11th grade, and then you took AP Literature in the 12th grade, and maybe you took those tests, and maybe you didn't. But certainly the AP Literature curriculum, though I love it personally, you should read all the books on that list, it didn't speak to our students' interests and needs as much as we thought a different path could. And so several years ago, the team got together and said, let's do this differently. We still offer AP English language in the 11th grade, which is by far the most popular English course. But in the 12th grade, we have teacher-driven, genre-driven, original coursework that operates at the AP Honors, get you ready for college, get to experience a little bit of what a college course might be level, that are so cool. So I just wanted to here's a list of these courses. Your child might find themselves in 12th grade in reading the Victorian mind. They might find themselves in the American West and Frontier. They might find themselves in power and poverty and literature. They might find themselves in philosophy of literature. Or they might find themselves, if they're either particularly lucky or unlucky, in my course, utopias and dystopias. P.S. They're the same thing. No, I'm just going to start teaching. That's what I'm going to do. And what is the best thing about these courses is that they are self-selected by the students. So the students have done the work the 3 years running up to this level, and then at the end of their junior year, the English teachers lay out these courses that we have designed and we have given from our hearts and souls as English teachers, and say, here's what we think is so cool, or here's we think a way to learn about and experience literature in a way that is meaningful and different and unique, and the students choose. So it is, I think, so emblematic of what Parker values, which is student choice and teacher passion and expertise all rolled up into this really cool senior program. Okay, but how do you get to the senior program? Good for you, I also teach 9th grade. So when you start in the 9th grade, one of the things you will notice as you look at the course page is that 9th grade is not leveled. There is not an Honors 9 option. And we know that many students coming to Parker have terrific interest and phenomenal skill and passion in the humanities, in creative writing in particular, and as readers. And so very fairly the question is asked, why isn't there an honors option at the 9th and 10th grade level? And the answer is this. One, we feel, and I believe firmly, that we have developed a curriculum and a reading regimen that challenges all students in really productive ways. I also believe that, and I know that within those curriculums, there are opportunities for differentiation, for advancement, for enrichment, as well as, and as importantly, that there are opportunities for support, for reteaching, and for skills-based learning for students who come from any number of curricular backgrounds. The thing about the English department is that we teach reading, writing, speaking, listening, full stop. That's our passion, that's where we want to be. And we know how important and how central those skills are, not only to success in our department, but to success in all areas of study at Parker and beyond. So when a student starts in the 9th grade, I know that no matter their level of interest, their level of ability, their level of investment, or sometimes their level of anxiety about academic reading and writing, we can get them to that Honors 12 place where they can choose to sit in a classroom and operate at a really high level. Any questions so far? I've never used this. Here we go. There are also a lot of opportunities for our humanities hearts to shine at Parker. We have one of the most awarded and lauded student art magazines, creative writing, short fiction, poetry, photography, music, all comes together in BEMA. And it's such a beautiful publication that is student-run, student-led, student-edited, and student-supported. It's a big day at the end of the year when BEMA comes out. It's exciting. We have news writing that can be, and those skills can be taught and honed through our Scribe, our student magazine, and yearbook as well. So students who understand and have a passion for writing, but not necessarily in the classically academic way, have a tremendous outlets for those creative drives. The other thing that is so special to Parker is Poetry Week. It's right there. Poetry Week is the brainchild of my phenomenal colleague, Chris Harrington. in which he said, we need an event that uses poetry, the singularly, according to Chris, greatest force of the human experience, to bring the Parker community together. And we said, okay, Chris, what do you want to do? He says, well, I want to bring in poets. I want the kids to write poetry. I want the teachers to write poetry. I want morning announcements to begin with poetry. We're going to start the week with we're going to sound our barbaric y'all. Anybody? No, okay, we'll do it later. We'll practice. Okay, I got it. And then it happened. And we are entering our third year of Poetry Week this year. And every year, we have had the opportunity to have some amazing poets in residence come and work with the students and also give presentations and readings to the community. The first year, our poet in residence was Billy Collins, National Poet Laureate. Last year, our poet in residence was Naomi Shihab Nye. And I will apologize to her later. I'm blanking on her honorific that I was going to lay right there. And this year, we are so excited to welcome slam poet extraordinaire and National Book Award winner for 2018 Youth Literature, Elizabeth Acevedo. We are so excited to welcome her to campus in February. She will have an opportunity to interface with our kids, to run clinics with our kids. Our students are all reading her work right now, and they're going to be performing, and it is the coolest thing. If you have the opportunity to check out the campus during Poetry Week, I highly encourage it, because the whole campus comes together to celebrate the craft of poetry and what it can do to connect people. I think I have spent all my time now talking about Poetry Week, but I'm again so honored and every day excited to work here with the students that I teach. Please, 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 if you have any questions about the English department or how it can support your students, I would love to speak with you after the event. Thanks so much. Up next is Karen Parker, our Department Chair of Social Studies.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Parker. You may recognize me from earlier because I'm literally wearing the same outfit as I was in that photo. It's my favorite, obviously. In this case, I've been working at Parker for 8 years, teaching a total of 13 years, exclusively in private schools, and I moved out here from Virginia and found myself really immersed in what we do as a department, focusing on basically building better citizens. By a show of hands, how many of you had a social studies high school experience in which it was a lot of memorization of dates? Yeah, that happens. In this case, that's not quite what we do here anymore. That's actually not really good teaching practice either. And that's something that we do not want to have happen with our students. And we really engender in our students a love of the discipline in a way that they see modern day connections to what they're learning in terms of the content, but also in terms of skills that go well beyond the classroom. So in this case, things like becoming better communicators, we have the students do a lot of research skills, presentation skills. The idea of being a better communicator isn't just speaking in front of a group, even though public speaking is up there with, I think, death in terms of number 2, fear. But when we think about the ability for our students to communicate clearly, whether it's in writing, whether it is in front of a group of people, that's really important for us. And the way that we do that is through content acquisition. We focus on ancient history, world history, American history, which is a requirement in the California schools, and then we have lots of electives. Starting in 10th grade, actually, all the way through senior year. So in 9th grade, students take ancient history, ancient classical medieval history. It's a survey course. And in this case, the students really get a sense of important foundational historical knowledge, but they also learn everything from how to determine importance. History textbooks can be quite dense, and in this case, a skill of how do you glean and ascertain what is important from a text is significantly important. I often tell my students, my husband's an engineer, and he will get a 50-page document from the FAA, and he has to figure out what's important and what isn't. And that's a really significant skill that we practice in a historical context, but it's something that's important beyond our classroom. Additionally, research skills are significantly important, and we do a lot of research projects that students have a lot of choice and agency over what they want to research. I've had students do amazing projects on everything from the role that plastic surgery played in World War I, helping veterans overcome shell shock, and the injuries that they got in battle. I've had students do research on ancient Chinese practices, looking at legalism and Confucianism. We have modern day connections where some of our students engage with issues happening here in San Diego, border issues, you name it. Like we want the students to really value their experience, and that means giving a lot of agency and a lot of choice over what they want to learn, and then supporting that through these skills. When it comes to skills though, one thing that a lot of students come in and I see is, well, I love reading, I'm a voracious reader, and they have this Jeopardy-like knowledge of historical events. And those students, they're just a delight to work with. They will tell me things, I'm like, I think you should be up in front teaching instead of me, because they have these passions and they want to share them. But when it comes to historical thinking and writing skills, what we mean by that is focusing on skills such as corroborating evidence, looking at multiple sources, looking at sourcing. When was a source written? When was a speech given? What's the context of the time period? Learning how to evaluate the reliability of information. And I think we all recognize that that's a very important skill. The internet is the best, worst place in the world, and it's filled with a lot of information. So how can we help students determine what is and is not reliable? Not just in our modern day, but looking at sources from the past. So those types of skills are significantly important, and in general, it helps make for better citizens. When we think about these essential questions that Dr. Gillespie mentioned, the department really looks at our mission statement, which is right behind me. This idea of global perspective and strength of character is significantly important to us. So it's not just skills, it's not just content, but how do we help students become better citizens, more empathetic? How do we help them engage with the world around them beyond, let's say, their class or the city that they live in? So what we do is we really focus on developing what we call culturally competent curriculum. When I went to high school, which wasn't that long ago, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I distinctly remember most of my history books and most of my history teachers really focused on like a male-dominated history. Men did everything, and I really didn't even learn about other cultures outside of Europe until I went to college. So my history experience in high school was very one-dimensional, and that's not the case here, and it's beautiful and wonderful. We really focus on diverse perspectives. We really focus on really embracing the DE&I, the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that the school is embracing to make sure that our curriculum is as representative of the world as possible. So that means bringing in minority perspectives. That means bringing in speakers to come to classes, to meet with our students, whether it's about issues pertaining to refugees, gender issues, transgender issues, issues regarding like war, poverty, I mean, you name it. Our discipline, the social studies discipline, really is a wonderful way for students to get perspective in a way that perhaps they don't necessarily get that perspective just like right now within their own friend group perhaps. So really that culturally competent curriculum is one of my favorite parts about the discipline, in a way that allows students to, like I said, become better global citizens, but also just really expand their horizons. And there's a lot of ways that we also do that outside of the classroom. But this idea of being engaged global citizens, it's not just global. I almost wish I put in there being engaged citizens like here in San Diego. We have many specific classes that the opportunity for students to engage with local issues, California propositions, having councilmen and councilwomen come to the school and speak to us, and the students can ask questions. We have students that get involved in grant writing to write grants to different organizations to help them and support them, whether it's in the social justice program, you name it. So they're really engaging in actual citizenship beyond just learning about it in a very static classroom environment. So it's really lovely. Oh, I hit the right button. So when it comes to some of these electives, so 9th grade is just ancient medieval classical, 10th grade is a continuation. Parker is unique in that we have 2 years back-to-back of world history. In California public schools, that's not mandated, they just need 1 year of world history, but we think it's valuable that they have 2. And then starting in 10th grade, there are other curricular opportunities that a student could take and kind of double up on if that's something that they are really passionate about. So This Is Us, this is US, that's a course that is taught by Dr. Rye Wilson, and it really focuses on 3 core issues, race, gender, and socioeconomic issues that pertain to our world today, looking at the historical context surrounding those groups and then what's going on today. Students absolutely adore that class, and it is filled with lots of non-traditional sort of curricular elements. Everything from listening to podcasts to engaging with speakers. They read lots of primary and secondary sources. They engage in research. I wish I could take that course. I wish I could take all of my colleagues' courses, actually. Social justice is a much beloved course, usually for seniors, but essentially it is focused on core components of social justice movements, focusing on issues pertaining to historical movements, present-day movements. The students engage with a lot of outside speakers and community members and activists. Like, how do students actively engage in being a citizen in the United States or a citizen of the world? So they work closely with the Linda Vista community. They work closely with the refugee community. They work closely with different constituencies in the border community as well. So they are out and about a lot. They aren't in the classroom that often, actually. So that's something that students find a really big delight in. We have other higher level courses, AP Art History for those that enjoy examining how art is reflective of the human experience. That is a course that students really find a lot of value in, and it actually does count, or it can count as a social studies credit or a art credit. So there's a little bit of leeway in that capacity. And AP Economics, we have a lot of students that are interested in entrepreneurship. They're interested in learning more about the world of economics, and that course is highly desired by students that want to perhaps go into a collegiate setting and learn more about business. Human geography, and we have other courses that really focus on, again, engendering empathy, historical thinking skills, what's going on in the world around us, lots of modern day connections. So this idea of memorizing dates and matching a specific date to an event is in the past, and I'm glad to see it go away. And I'm certainly glad to be part of that process of, especially at Parker, moving everyone forward into like, well, what does it mean to be a social studies student? Encouraging these kinds of passions outside of the classroom, we have 3 main avenues to do that. So History Day is a national organization that Parker has actually been very successful in. It's a year-long extracurricular program in which the organization has created a theme for the year, and students take a whole year to research something in incredible depth. So for instance, themes in the past have been like conflict and compromise. Students choose a topic, and then they can actually produce one of 5 different kinds of final products: a performance, a documentary, a paper, an exhibit. What was missing one?
Website.
Oh yeah, a website. Wow. So what ends up happening is that students develop some really interesting skills and lots of research, and we have won, the school, Parker, has won first place a number of years in specific categories. Most recently, we had some students won first place for a documentary that they created focusing on conflict and compromise about Berkeley, specifically the conflict about the ethnic studies program. That was, I'm just thinking about the documentary itself and how our students actually interviewed people that were involved in the issue. Our students are amazing. They will literally just email the head of a major NGO and get interviews with them to help in these projects. So it's really amazing how our students develop skills like that to produce these wonderful projects. The San Diego Diplomacy Council is actually a new connection that our department has made. They bring on delegates from across the country or across the world, focusing on specific issues. So for instance, there was a recent delegation here of 21 women that had high-ranking positions in various West African and Sub-Saharan African countries, coming to talk about the issues at hand. Those kinds of programs, those kinds of delegations, they let us know in advance, and we kind of figure out, like, is there time in the schedule, when are they happening, what's the demand of the students. So I'm already in contact with them, setting up a program and a meet and greet in the spring session. So that's also a really lovely program. And then the Global Studies program. We go to a variety of countries, or we have a program which students can go to a variety of different countries. Ms. Geek was talking about Colombia, and really we make sure to support the students in basically knowing what's going on in these countries, past and present, so that they're really informed before they go. So lots of opportunities. I love my department. I feel so fortunate to be here and to work with them. And like I said, I wish I could take every single one of their classes, but luckily as department chair, I kind of can because I get to observe them a lot. So lots of learning on my part, but if any of you have any questions afterward, please don't hesitate to ask. I would love to talk to the social studies lovers of your family and get to know more about them. Thank you.
I think you can see why I love my job, right? I mean, I get to spend time with these extraordinary educators who clearly are passionate about, and a little competitive too, about their area of study. I will say that my area of study and teaching is on the humanities side. I taught English and history and American studies. And then I chose my life partner who is on the science side, so I think it all works out. But what we know about our students is that they have a wide range of passions. And so it is not unusual at all for a student to excel in the humanities and have a passion for that and double up and take all the courses they can and also advance in the sciences. And that is sort of the foundational element of our curriculum. So we're not a specialty school. We're a liberal arts-based school. So if we were a college, we would be a liberal arts college. So we have exceptional programming, both curricularly and extracurricularly. We have an expectation through our graduation requirements that our students will maintain their course of study in both of those areas, but we do allow for our students to do a deeper dive if they have a particular passion or interest. And so we're able to offer all of those elements. And how many of you had a high school like this? I don't want to go back and keep going to school, which I do every day. I've been in high school for years now, I think 28. I know I don't look a day over 16. So what we'd like to do now is give you an opportunity, if you have some questions. We'll have an open session for some questions, but I do also know that sometimes you may have a question that's specific to your child and you may not feel as comfortable asking that question in front of a large group, and we want to honor and respect that. I also want you to have the opportunity to spend some time with our department chairs who are here and maybe follow up with some questions. So it's a little bit open, but for now, Ms. Dillmore and I are happy to answer any more general questions that you have. Yes?
So the placement exams were classes that they can take more than just that one level.
I mean, when the students are coming in, how do they get started?
They're new.
Right. So what we have is after we go through the admission process and offer admission to students and they accept, we have a placement exam time, and that is for our world languages and for our mathematics placements. The others we place with the work of the dean and our associate head, Ms. Dillmore, on placing the student appropriately. In ninth grade, there aren't, as we shared, aren't a lot of levels, but for the ones where there are levels, or there's a pairing with a mathematics level and a certain physics course, we work together on that. But there are really only 2 placement exams
Okay.
that are given. One is in world languages and one is in mathematics. Also, for those of you who maybe have started a language or speak more than one language, you can start a new language. And we also have students who will double up in a language. They'll add a new language to what they're taking as well. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay, so with the courses, in choosing the courses, you guys don't, because at the school that my kids are currently going to, if you take, for example, an honors English, then you have to take an honors or an AP history where they pair them up. Because you took one, you have to, you don't have the choice to take a regular class, or vice versa, even with the math and the science. So you may be excelling in math and not so great at the science, but no matter what, they pair it up together.
Right. So oftentimes when schools build schedules, they lock courses in together, and some schools, they'll say they sort of track students who are in this track. So one of the wonderful things about Parker, which our other speakers shared tonight, is that we really work with the individual student. So we don't have those pairings. So a student may take an advanced level course and a non-advanced level course, and they're not paired together. There are courses and the way the requirements go where students, there are prerequisite courses that they have to take. But we don't have paired courses, as you're describing, and I am familiar with when that happens, which it also frees up students. So we'll have students as they're building their courses and their list as they work on their 4-year plan, they make decisions. They may qualify for a whole series of advanced level courses, but as they think about their interests in school and their interests outside of school, they may be very involved in robotics or athletics or theater and other areas, or in their family home life. They may choose not to advance in all of the courses in which they do, and we allow for that. So students aren't fully moving along in that way, so they can make those decisions at different junctures as well. The pairing that we do have is at the very top level for AP Physics C. Students must be in BC Calculus for the one that's mechanics and electricity, right? I think it's the ME. And then we have an AP Physics C that's just mechanics, and they can be an AV Calc. So there are just a couple of those like odd ones, but that'll be later on. Yeah.